Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and outside of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity work, volunteering, community service, and just spreading positivity. That's what we're all about here on the show. And with me today, I've got a very special guest. She is a musician and an interviewer and manager for TNA, Total Nonstop Action Wrestling, the one and only Moonshadow, also known as Goldy Locks. Welcome to the show.
Wow, you got all that? Got all that right. I appreciate it. Let me click this button saying that I know you're recording. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm great. Whereabouts in the world are you?
So I am from Nashville.
Oh, you
Tennessee.
are?
Yes.
Well, holy shit. Who knew? You're right here. Are you here right now?
Yep, I'm right here in Music City.
I am too. That's crazy.
That's unbelievable. That's so cool. So are you a native?
No, not at all. I'm from I moved from Minneapolis to Los Angeles. Was in Los Angeles for a long time. Then I was commuting back and forth to the fairgrounds, and then from the fairgrounds to Universal Studios. But yeah, I'm in a suburb of Nashville. So
Oh, okay.
I'm assuming you are too. You're probably not in Nashville, or maybe you are.
I am. I'm in the west side of Nashville.
Oh, nice.
Yes, Bellevue. near Westmead, all the stuff, it's crazy.
You got yeah. Well, you'll have to come to a show sometime if you're in town. That would be
I would
amazing.
love to. Are you in like East Nashville?
I am in an undisclosed area. I just kind of leave it as a suburb of Nashville.
I gotcha. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Right on. All right. So Minneapolis. All right. So tell me about your upbringing.
I grew up in just a very poor, economically challenged neighborhood. The Hood is what we called it, and I loved it. I loved all of the ethnic influences. I was one of the only white. I'm politically correct. I don't know. We just always called it white, black, and Mexican, and there was no Hispanic or this. It was just like she was the white girl and she was the black girl, and honestly, back then nobody even gave a shit. It was just like we were just friends. So
Yeah.
I really grew up with a beautiful cornucopia of friends and neighbors that a lot of Native American Indians. Yeah, Minneapolis, Minnehaha, Hiawatha, Minnetonka. It's just everything was so Native American. I've got a little kitten here that I'm
Oh,
sitting, and it's just tearing up this room. So if you hear some crazy noises, that's what it is.
no
But so
worries.
I grew up just around all these Native Americans with prayers and blessings, and always doing like rain dances when like one of my relatives was sick or something. They'd come over into the yard and put on their headdresses and literally do all this stuff, and it was just so cool and so beautiful. And I get bummed these days when I don't know. I feel like sometimes we're like erasing a lot of our history because people get offended about things, but like the people that it's really all about aren't really that offended. So for me, I remember this just lush upbringing of all these American Indians, African Americans, Black friends, Hmong. There's a lot of Hmong people in my neighborhood, and then because it was the Minneapolis Sound and Prince and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and the Time and St. Paul Peterson, Jesse Johnson, all these like legendary Minneapolis Sound pioneers. It was just very, very rich with um, art, history. It was really beautiful place to grow up in. So I think I got a good best of both worlds with everything. I went to good schools. I was tutored a lot because I was doing acting and modeling and whatnot. So it was a good upbringing. There's another word that I was looking for, but this cat is ripping up my carpeting and I'm having a hard time concentrating. I'll think of it. It'll come to me. Ask me another question while I.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like, being exposed to different cultures is pretty fascinating, pretty cool, especially at such a young age. Were you always like into music?
Always into music. You couldn't not be in my family and growing up in the church, and you were just encouraged, forced. You're encouraged to sing and participate in all of that. And I did the dance and the acting and all of that, and music was just sort of intertwined and embedded in all of it. And I'm very blessed and grateful for it. It was awesome. It still is.
Who were like some of your like influences like listening
Well,
to?
growing up in Minneapolis, Prince was one. He was
This
older
was
than
one.
I was, but yeah, one of the greatest entertainers, writers, performers,
Mm-hmm.
I think of all time. He was the thing that made him so special is that he could do everything. When some people say, "Oh, I can play every instrument," yeah, badly, like you suck, and you know, like I have all these instruments on my wall, and I can kind of play some things, but not like that guy. That guy was like the master of
Yeah.
everything that he picked up. So he was an influence. Like I liked pop, I liked Madonna, I liked Janet Jackson. That was until I was a little bit later, a little older, but they just had really catchy songs. I liked songs that are positive and upbeat. I liked like for my rock bands, I loved Journey. I thought again
Ah,
their
can't go
writing
wrong
was
with that.
so strong.
Keith
Guns N'
Berry.
Roses, their writing was so frick. It's just so good. Like even Metallica, like just great, great writing. Like I don't care what kind of music it is, as long as it's great writing. And then you like you listen to bands like you know some of the guys will pop on this. Like you listen to some of the Slayer songs or Judas Priest, and it's like it's so hardcore and original, and it set the precedent and the tone. Again, the songs. Where I feel bad for some of the songs these days because I just don't think like some of the is really there. So I love going back to the old classics and listen to that and get
Yeah.
some new stuff's great too. But I like a lot of the old stuff.
Yeah, it's they say like it's all sizzle but no steak.
Kind of. So, you know, when you do and then there's bands that and I'm not dissing them, I think I'd like them more like let's take like Greta Von Fleet. I would have more respect for them if I hadn't listened to like their lead singer sit there and say, Led Zeppelin who? And I was like, I remember just like listening to them completely denounce that they had any influence from that band at all. And I was just like, WTF? Like, if you would have said, oh my God, like the licks and the vocal runs and the songs, and, we love Zeppelin, and then this is what we're doing, I would have been like, well, hell yeah, like props, respect. But literally, I've watched them in interviews saying like they haven't even heard of the band. So that's where we are
Hmm.
these days is where people completely don't give the nods that they should. And being in the wrestling business, like you really do learn, you give nods to people, you give props. If it's a photographer that took your photo, which I've been guilty in the past of not always tagging them in it or giving them photo credit, like that's really important to give credit where credit is due.
Oh, no doubt about it. Yeah, you got to open for like several different bands here, like Maroon 5, Three Doors Down, Collective Soul. Wow, that's Stevie Nicks. I mean,
Lots of great people we've had the opportunity, and that comes through wrestling or it comes through relationships that we have with people that they know they trust us, they know we're professional, we'll show up, we'll do a good show, a good opener. It's usually about 40-45 minutes, same as our podcast, and you come out of the gates with your fists up and pumping. You do a great opening set, you warm up the crowd, you get them primed for the national act, for the main event, and
yeah.
it's different than wrestling. So we've been really blessed with that. It's been great.
Any like fun stories of just some people you've bumped shoulders with, just interactions you want to
Yeah,
share?
like I remember I got this new DVD that was a CD that was a warm up, and it was for her name's Melissa Cross, and she's the vocal coach to like all the screamers, like lead singer for Lamb of God, and just all your metal guys. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna do these warm ups and really protect my voice. And I was pretty fired up because it was a really expensive course. And I just remember we were at Hard Rock Biloxi, and it was a last minute show, and there was a couple of bands on the bill, and we were opening for one that I hadn't really heard of or anything. But anyways, I was sitting back on the stairs that go to the backstage door, and there was this, guy just kind of sitting there chilling. And I was like, hey, are you playing tonight? And he just kind of smiled and he was like, yeah, I'm playing tonight. I'm like, what do? You play guitar? You play drums? Oh, I sing. I was like, oh, cool. Hey, I got this new CD. It's for warm ups. You should check it out. And he just kind of smiled and he's like, I'm good. I did what I needed to do. I'm like, oh no, bro, this is gonna up your game. Like they're gonna love this. Like she teaches like all the like superstar Megan or on and on. And he just kind of smiled and he said, no, I'm good, but good luck with your course and everything. And
Yeah.
later on, I found out like the opening act that we were opening for was another act that was there, which I didn't even know because we got in the last minute. And here's me like pitching my new DVD course to the lead singer of Judas Priest, and I just was like, "Yeah, you're an idiot." Like he was so nice to me, and I was just like, "Oh," I felt really, really dumb, but so gracious.
Yeah.
Like, my little CD was going to teach him something as he went out there, just like screamed his balls off. So, but anyway, that's a fun story though.
Getting to meet your idols is just an experience like no other. Like,
It is,
really.
and it can
Uh,
go either way. That was one that was positive, and I can pretty much count that on one hand, not to be pessimistic, but most of the people that we idolize are assholes. That's the truth. So be careful what you wish for and appreciate the people that are in your lives every day who show up for you and who rally for you and like your content, support you, and just are your friends. Like sometimes I think the real lesson there is don't idolize people so much because you've got some really great ones right in your backyard. So, but I've met some good ones, but I've met some
yes.
well, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, definitely we kind of live in a celebrity culture
We do.
nowadays.
Well, but do we? Because nowadays everybody's got their own brand. Everybody's got a channel. Everybody's got
That's
a this.
true.
It's kind of
That's true.
exhausting.
It is. It's a different world now, I feel like, than it used to be. Things are kind of kept in the background. Now it's like out in the open.
It is. I miss the old days. We were just talking about that the other day. I
Yeah.
miss like premieres of this, that. I miss the kayfabe of all the wrestlers. I miss the mystique and the mystery. I miss that I believed so much of their character, and now it's like, and I'm guilty of this too. You play one thing on TV or at shows, and then you look at your Instagram, and you're hanging out with all your buddies who are supposed to be heels, and
Suspense of disbelief.
it is. I miss the old days. I miss the
Yeah.
premiere videos. I remember like Michael Jackson would have like a big premiere, and it was like on a Friday night, and all your friends came over, and you waited by the
Yeah,
television set. The
MTV.
countdown. Yep, the countdown was there, and you'd get to see it, and they controlled what you saw, and there was so much magic, mystique, and mystery around it. And now it's like literally boom, boom, boom. Every day it's a new thing. Madonna would come out and she'd go, "Well, what hairstyle is she gonna have? What color is her hair gonna be?" And now it's just her on social media, like every day with just new. It might even be twice a day that she changes her look, and it's too much to me, and it's so much, and it's so drowning and overloaded that it takes away from being special. So
Sure.
I miss some of the old stuff. I miss it.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with that.
Yeah, not
You
that I
got
don't like new stuff too, but you know
yeah,
what I mean.
sure. I can agree with that as well. You got into so you're doing the music. What kind of were you always a wrestling fan growing up? What got you into professional wrestling?
My lawyer got me into professional wrestling. Always knew what wrestling was. Wasn't really that much of a fan. I watched it growing up with my grandmother, sitting on her lap. Those were really the old days of the classic. You know, Greg Gagne, Ivan Ivan. What's his?
Putski?
Is it
Ivan
Put?
Putski?
Putski. Oh, that's another friend of mine who's Polish. Ivan Putski. Let me think of some of the ones. Just like Hulk, really, really early, early stuff. Where Mean Gene, when he was just
Mm-hmm.
new on the scene, doing his thing, like that's what I remember being really, really young, and then got away from it. Didn't really follow it, and then I had the record label that I was on, the record deal. They had an entertainment lawyer who said there's a new promotion that's starting up, excuse me, in Nashville, Tennessee. The Jarretts are doing it. You should really check it out. And I tried to get a gig with them, and would fly here from Los Angeles and try to get in their face. And I remember going to Hendersonville, like to their offices, and showing up and showing up and showing up. And then finally they gave me the first job, which was just supposed to be backstage interviewing, but it just, morphed into so much more, which I'm so grateful for. It was one of the most amazing experiences of my life, with even good things happening and bad. It just, I look back and it was pure magic. I wish I could go back and just like live in those times again and do things a little bit differently.
Yes, TNA was definitely an upstart promotion at that particular
Oh,
time.
yeah.
It was brand new. WWE bought out WCW and ECW. Just a new company rising out of the ashes, like unbelievable. And just to be a part of that, that had to have been a thrill for you.
It's a thrill now that I've had 20 years to reflect on it. In fact, my podcast that I've got on Russo's brand, Goldie's Closet, Pitch and Ultra Plug, is basically just a redemption show of me reaching out to all of the people that I had no idea were just, I had no idea. I was so stupid, like literally just so dumb and ignorant. And all these men and women that I'm working with, mostly men, because there wasn't that many women in the promotion, were just like legends. And here's me, just like this cocky newcomer, just so arrogant. And there's one person I would just love to get on my show, and that's Mike Tenay, just to apologize to him for not understanding like how brilliant that guy is. I always got along really well with Don West. Never really had a chance to have him on my show or let him know how much he meant to me, but I know I did while I was filming and taping. I know I was always really good to him, and
Yeah.
because he was always really good to me. Don West was always so, as I look at him on my wall right now, annoyed with me, as he should have been, because I just was just so arrogant. Like I thought I was better than everybody else, and I had no idea like what they'd done because I didn't take the time to research it. I didn't care. I was just like in my own head and all about me and my circle of friends that I had, and I should have been every show making, like I used to do when I was in grade school, an attempt to integrate into another circle or clique of people, get to know them, befriend them, find out what makes them tick, and be an ally for them. And I was pretty good, but I look back in hindsight and I just wish I could have done a way better job now that I have grown up and you learn some things.
Yeah, definitely. When you're young, you make mistakes.
Oh
You
God.
you screw up, but over time, as long as you don't repeat them, you learn from it and you just move on. I mean, that's always a part of life. We can't beat ourselves up about it too much. And it's important that you are able to, learn from your mistakes and grow. I mean, but yeah, I mean, Don West, what a legend he was. A great broadcaster, great announcer.
I didn't know when he was there. I just thought, oh, this guy. Now I look back and I'm like, God, you had something to say, Don, about everything, and with such passion and enthusiasm. You could take somebody dropping a turd and turn it into like this epic event. Like he was so brilliant, and I just miss his energy. I miss him so much. Like he was just and just a joy to be around. Never anything negative coming out of his mouth. Always just like the party guy, just pure fun. Talked about his wife all the time. I never saw Don screwing around, like, which I can't say about myself included. He was always a really stand up guy, very forthright, very honest. And I just didn't see him doing a lot of dirty business. So he is so missed.
Yeah. So tell me about, your what's it like being a backstage interviewer? Were you shy at first? Were you able to get comfortable in the role? Walk me through behind the scenes.
Good question. That's really kind. From the day that I started, I had no guidance or help. It was completely thrown into it. So it used to be hard for me when I would read really negative things about me and how I wasn't very good. And now that I've had, again, time to grow and think and fast forward 20 years, when I look back, I was actually pretty damn good. I was so naive and so ignorant to what I was supposed to be doing that the reactions and everything that you saw weren't acting, and it wasn't a rib or it wasn't a work. It was complete shoot. It was completely authentic. Like I was annoyed by a lot of these people, and it was, now when I look back at it, like the dups were always chewing tobacco in my face and talking and spitting on me, and I was always getting spit on or having beer from like Sandman. It was in my face and in my eyes and burning me, and I was legitimately like put out by the whole thing. And it's actually really funny when I go back and look at it. And now that there's all these re-releases of all this TNA classic, it's like I know I did a good job because I hear about it every day because people message me, and it's not your tits look great or your ass or this or that. It's you were really funny, or I like your interaction with this. So it's nice to have validation, even if it's 20 years later. I don't live for validation, but back then I was always asking people, like, will you help me? And then it was just such a train wreck of brilliance backstage. Like, it really was the wild, wild west. Anything could go. You could say whatever you want. Politically correctness wasn't even born yet. Like, just all hell was always breaking loose backstage. And I would do my best to, concentrate on things. And there's people that are drinking and they're drunk, they're all pilled up, they're out of their minds, they're, raging with testosterone and steroids and all this crazy stuff. And I'm just like walking around trying to navigate, get my interview questions down, get the scoop. And then I would be real quiet and sit in a corner, stand there, run my lines and my stats. And these are stats that I don't know. They were before I was born or before I followed wrestling at all. And I didn't even know how to like tag team champion. Like all these things rolled off of Don West's and Mike Tenay's and Jeremy Borash's tongue because they were versed in it. It was a new world to me. So I had to blah, 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 like practice physically saying a lot of these things so that it's live TV, that I don't stumble. I'd get it all down. My heart would be racing. I'd think, all right, I got this. And then either Jeff or Jerry Jarrett or, oh God, what's his name? He passed away. And I'm just, geez, Bob, come on, Goldie, where's your brain? Bob, the guy that ran the travel and the guy that,
Oh, was it Bob Ryder?
yes, thank you.
It was Bob Ryder.
My brain, I'm exhausted. My Bob Ryder, or in the future, Vince Russo, they would all come in and say, no, we're going to change all this. And I'd be like, what? Because I had it all down and I was ready to go. And now it's like, you've got 2 minutes before the red button clicks for live in front of millions of people. And they've changed all of the titles of everything and the stats. And it was terrifying. I was always sick to my stomach. I always felt like I was going to crap my pants, like, because, and then people don't realize that. They're like, oh, she sucks or this or that. It's like, yeah, you know what? Even you, wrestling supporter, wrestling follower and fan, you think you got it all down. Let's see you have it down in your mind and then flip that switch 60 seconds before you're getting ready to speak. And they're like, nope, it's all different. In fact, you're going to change the statistic to be something it's not, but it's going to sound better for the show. And then, blah, blah. It was really, really difficult, very challenging, but the best education in live television. There is no training like it.
No.
That's what I'm just saying. Like the stuff this day and age, like everybody's brand and everybody's thing. It's like, it feels forced and it feels unauthentic and fake. No different than, I try to explain it like when you would see them replicating something on Star Trek. It'd be like, the crew would be like longing for that real apple pie back home on their planet with a scoop of freshly, homemade vanilla ice cream. And the replicator would make something and they'd have it in front of them, but it wasn't real. It looked real, kind of smelled kind of real, but it wasn't real. That's right. What I feel like a lot of times the world that we're living in now, it's like not quite real. If that makes any sense.
Yes. Let's kind of talk about your the stuff you've done outside of wrestling, outside of music. Talk about some of the organizations you've worked with in terms of charity. And
I love that you're doing this. That is so cool. So there's many charities and platforms that we've always involved ourselves in and done a lot of just free work. And the most important one, well, not the most, but one of the ones that is near and dear to my heart is domestic violence prevention. And we always think of like, women and children and this and that. And we do a lot of work with the YWCA, which is an organization all throughout the land that helps women and men, but mostly women, have a safe place to land when they're just jumping ship and abandoning their bad situations and rolling in the middle of the night, literally sometimes on fumes and rims. They've got a place to stay. They help them continue their education, their GED. They help with job placement. It's just very, very scary when you're in a bad situation. And I know that that's always like geared around women, but I think with our society and how we are now so open about things, like we hear a lot about narcissists, and narcissists can be a man or a woman. It's a lot of times a man that we hear about women talking about, but it can go both ways.
Yeah, vice versa.
Yeah, and it's like you don't realize, like I was in a relationship with a narcissist a few years back that I had no sexual contact with, or nothing other than a business relationship with it, and they presented themselves as this wonderful human being. And then literally 2 years into it, they became like Satan incarnate, like the most horrific human being. And I bring that up because a lot of times people, they meet a partner or somebody and they think they present themselves really, really good at first, really beautifully lit, and then it starts to dim and go black, like, and you're stuck in this. So the why really helps with that. We do a lot of work with cancer prevention. So we've got a platform, a movement called I, and then CAN, and then the CER is slashed out, but the website is icancer.life. And it's resources for people that are newly diagnosed with cancer. It's every specialist in the world is listed on there, as many as I can keep updated. There's shirts in a show where we have local businesses sponsor our band to go to a treatment center or a hospital or a children's hospital and do like a real gentle 45-minute acoustic set, and then hand out some of our inspirational items, which are really cool, like t-shirts and hoodies with the I can, and then the CER is cut off. So like they're folded, and when you see them folded, it just says I can. And then when you put them
Yeah.
on, CER is crossed out, and it's just positive, positive, positive. The first thing that you see when you go into one of these treatment centers or hospital, when they order some of them to put on the beds, is this presence and this positivity. That's another one. And then leading into that is tons for mental health awareness and suicide prevention. Just very open about the things in entertainment and in wrestling that can bring you down, as well as just overall life. Like, a lot of people don't realize it's a fine line between acknowledging that there is mental health needs where people get down and depressed and are feeling like taking themselves out. We need to be aware of that and talk about it so that we don't feel alone. But then there are those people that just camp out on that all day, where they're constantly waving their flag of, I'm going to hurt myself. It's like, okay, then you need to talk to a professional, and you need to be committed to seeking out consistent help for your wellness, and not
Yeah.
just blah, blah, blah. So it's a fine line that you walk. So I like to talk about the fact that sometimes I get a little down, or I get depressed, or have bad thoughts, especially in this business, but I don't like to live there for too long. I say it enough to say I understand where you're coming from, and here are some resources and places and things that you can do to educate yourself, self heal, get medical attention, get help, get psychiatric help, get help from a professional. Like, that's important, that we don't just, there's, those people that just are constantly like, mm-hmm,
Yeah.
like, okay, you're down, like, then let's do something about it. So suicide prevention, mental health awareness is a huge one, and cancer and the domestic violence. And then, like I said, we do a lot with these little guys,
Oh.
constantly rescuing and fostering little animals from the side of the road or shelters near you. And I always tell everybody, if you're looking for a new furry or reptilian companion to adopt, not shop, right out the gate, like, check out all the places that, even Facebook Marketplace, or just, I think they do, like, people like find kitties or something like that, or little puppies, or a stray, or a senior animal that needs help. Like, always look in your community first to see like who needs help in your backyard before you go, to that shiny breeder and looking for all that stuff. So constantly always reminding people on that. Those are like the 4 platforms that we mostly support and ring our bell about.
Yeah. Why do you feel passionate about these causes?
Um, I'm Catholic, and I always grew up with, it was at St. Francis. He was this guy, always like in all of my friends' gardens, this like monk, and he always had an animal in his arms. And I just remember, like, lots of things in the Bible and lots of things that you would just hear at church were always like, blessed. It's a beatitude. We have beatitudes. Blessed are those that just like that care for those people and the animals and the creatures that are helpless. Like, like, we, this little cat on the side of the road, my friend found it in the rain, and it had no mom or no other kittens with it, and it's just like, it was gonna get hit. It's just like, what's that animal supposed to do? You can't take in everyone, but if everybody just did a little bit of responsibility, took a little bit of responsibility, we would have such a different world. Domestic violence, there's nothing like seeing a man or a woman being abused by another person and feeling so small and trapped in that they can't help themselves. And the same thing with mental health. Like, I mean, I'm one of the strongest bitches that I know, and I get so down that I think about what would it be like if I wasn't here anymore. And it's like I think if I'm that strong and self-correcting and I'm empowered and I get myself out, like what about the people that aren't? What about the people that just feel like there's nowhere for them to go and there's no hope? It sucks. So it's
Right.
like if you want to have a voice out there that helps people feel better.
Right. Listen, this has been wonderful getting the chance to talk with you. Very much so. Where can people find you on social media?
Oh, I appreciate you asking that, sweetie. Goldy Locks rocks on Twitter and Instagram, and that's Goldy with a Y, GOLDY LOCKS, ROCKS. Those are the best places. And our band website is just Goldy with a Y, GoldyLocksBand.com. All the charities, all the platforms that we work with, do things for, in association with, are all listed on there. Please check it out. And I just really appreciate such a great show and great questions. And we didn't get to that stuff till the end, but just the fact that you're even including that at all speaks volumes about you. So very honored to meet you.
Thank you. Very honored to meet you as well. Would love to come out to one of your shows sometime.
I would love that. If we do anything near Nashville, I'm going to invite you just to see what you're doing that night.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And you're more than welcome to come on back to the show.
I would love to. I'm going to have some things to promote pretty soon. That your people would appreciate. We've got a couple of promotions and contests that I'm working on getting a good chunk of money for cash prizes. It's really fun stuff that you have to do to participate. So I would love to come back on your show. So I'm going to take you up on that.
Definitely. All right. Thank you very much.
Bet, honey. Have a great day.
You too. This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.